going to be talking about Nostradamus. On December 14th, 1503, a legend was born. Michael de Notre Dame. We know him as Nostradamus, famous for his properties, which consist of quatrains, also known as four-line poems, grouped together into sets of 100 and known to predict the future. We'll explore the history of life of Nostradamus, look at his many predictions, and talk about some of the misquotes and hoaxes of his work. Growing up, I've always found him very interesting. I have seen the shows, read the articles, and even read the book. We know Nostradamus predicted some of the biggest events in history, but first let's take a look back into history. Nostradamus was born in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence in the south of France. He was the son of a grain dealer who was also a prosperous homegrown notary. His family was originally Jewish, but converted Catholic during the previous century. Nothing is known about his childhood, but at the age of 15 he entered the University of Avignon to study for his bachelor's. After a little more than a year, he was forced by the plague to leave again. In 1529, after some years as the apothecary, he entered the University of Montpellier to study for a doctorate in medicine, but was promptly expelled again when it was discovered that he had been an apothecary, which was a manual trade expressly banned by the university statute. He then continued to work as an apothecary and created a rose pill that was widely believed to protect against the plague. As a few years passed, he was invited to Jules Caesar to come to Agen. While in Agen, he met his wife, whose name is still in dispute, and together they had 2 children. But in 1534, his wife and children had died from the plague. After the death of Nostradamus decided to travel, possibly through France and Italy. As time went on, he settled in 1547, where he married a rich widow and even had 6 children with her. After a further visit to Italy, he began to move away from medicine and study more about the occult. For the first time in 1550, he used the name Nostradamus on the almanac he had written. This was so successful that he decided to write them annually. Although he wrote many of these books, the last 58 quatrains were never published for technical reasons. Now that we've looked back into the history of Nostradamus, let's look at his predictions. First and foremost, one of the most famous predictions is 9/11. The quatrain from his book reads, "In the year 1999, in the 7th month, from the sky will fall the great king of terror, bringing back to life the great king of the Mongols. Before and after, Mars to reign by good fortune." And this was found on the website of Nostradamus Society of America. But what does this really mean? Well, let's start in the year of 1999. In the 7th month, this could possibly mean July, which but the French word for July is September. And this might suggest an abbreviation for the English word September. The word from the sky could mean a plane, missile, or anything else. Will come the great, as in powerful, king of terror. This could mean the leader of a country with a strong military, bringing back to life or the rebirth of the king of the Mongols. Genghis Khan was the Mongolian king who conquered Asia in the 13th century. Thus, an Asian military may be suggested in this line. Before and after some accident or military event in July of 1999. Mars, the symbolic planet of war in astrology. To reign by good fortune, war appears to reign the fortunate for an unnamed nation or groups of nations. Nostradamus also predicted the assassination of JFK. In his book, the quatrain reads, "The great man will be struck down in the day of the thunderbolt, an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at nighttime, a conflict of Rheims, London, and a pestilence in Tuscany. And in this quatrain, he is referring to JFK as the great man struck down by the thunderbolt as maybe as the gunshot. In addition, when he states another falls at nighttime, he is referring to Bobby Kennedy, which was 5 years later. In addition, Nostradamus also predicted Hitler. In the book, the quatrain went like this. The two greatest ones of Asia and Africa, from Rhine and lower Danube, they will be said to have come. Cries, tears at Malta and Ligurian side. Also, from the depths of west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great truth. His fame will increase towards the realm of the east. So as you can tell, there are many hints of Hitler in this quatrain. For one, the talk of Europe, Africa, and Asia. Those were big when it came to the Holocaust. He who is the tongue will seduce a great truth. This is clearly Hitler. He seduced a whole troop to believe Jewish people were bad people. And in other books, Nostradamus referred to Hitler as Hister, which prefers, as one letter off. He was one letter off. After seeing what type of events Nostradamus did predict, now we're going to see some of the misquotes and hoax that have been said by Nostradamus. There is a persistent tendency to claim that Nostradamus predicted whatever just happened since the advent of the internet. Many prophecies have even been fabricated outright, therefore enhancing the mystique of Nostradamus. This hoax was supposed to refer to the election of George W. Bush as the President of the United States. Come the millennium, month 12, in the home of the greatest power, the village idiot will come forth. To be acclaimed the leader, but really, how could anyone really know this was about him? Nostradamus could have been talking about any leader in that time. I encourage you to do your own research, take the time to actually see the facts. Today, we have learned about Nostradamus, and we have looked into history about his life, some of the most important predictions, and some of the hopes and misquotes that his work has faced. One final thought. Although a lot of his information shows that Nostradamus did in fact predict these things, no one can really be sure if he really predicted these, or was just speaking of something else. This one thing the world will never know.